Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into some really old, really interesting stuff. Ancient oracular devices. You've got the divine Urim and Thummim on one side.
The official ones.
Right, and then the often illicit Teraphim on the other. But here's the twist our sources point towards, coming from Hosea's prophecy. Could these Teraphim, these sort of household idols, actually be a kind of prophetic blueprint?
Like a model.
Exactly, a model for a future authorized way God might guide people in a new era. Sounds pretty counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It really does. And what's fascinating, I think, is how the scriptures actually connect these things that seem like total opposites. It's not just history, like this happened, then that happened. It shows a kind of trajectory, a path for how divine guidance itself evolves, setting things up for future revelation.
Okay, so let's start with the big one, the Urim and Thummim. For anyone listening who maybe isn't super familiar, can you paint a quick picture? What exactly was this thing, this divine oracle?
Yeah, good place to start. The Urim and Thummim, they were really unique. Think of it as a direct channel, almost like a binary yes-no answer system for the whole nation. It was kept in the high priest's breastpiece of decision, divinely mandated, super important for big national choices, even war.
A direct line, essentially.
Pretty much. But what's just as telling, and maybe we don't always focus on this, is when it went silent. King Saul, desperate for guidance before a battle, and he gets nothing, just quiet. That silence was a powerful sign of God's displeasure. Really stark.
So access wasn't guaranteed.
Definitely conditional.
And then this incredibly important oracle just sort of fades out after King David. And people really felt that loss. After the exile in Ezra's time, they were literally waiting, saying, we need a priest with Urim and Thummim to figure things out. The line went dead.
Yeah, a real vacuum. Now flip that coin. You've got the Teraphim. These are quite different. Household objects, sort of personal divination tools, often illicit. Remember Laban chasing Jacob? He calls them my gods. Gives you an idea of how they were viewed sometimes?
Household gods, right. And weren't they sometimes like small figures, things you could hide?
Exactly. Small enough for Rachel to hide in a camel's saddlebag.
Okay, and here's something interesting I read, maybe from archaeology. Some sources suggest these might have been linked to, inheritance rights. Family claims.
That's a theory, yeah. It adds another layer to why Rachel might have taken Laban's, doesn't it? Makes it more than just religious objects.
It does. But, okay, even though prophets condemned them, what was it? Zechariah said the Teraphim have spoken vanity.
Mm-hmm. Empty words.
Despite that, they show up in, prominent Israelite homes, like Michal, David's wife.
Right. She uses one, like a dummy in the bed, to help David escape King Saul. So they were around, pervasive, even if they weren't strictly allowed.
So what's the connection then?
Well, functionally, despite one being legitimate and the other, not. Both were tangible things, objects people held, people used, trying to get supernatural guidance. The Teraphims were kind of like the illicit shadow, you could say, to the Urim and Thummim's legitimate substance.
Okay, so the official oracle goes silent, the unofficial ones are condemned.
Yeah.
What happens when both disappear? This leads us to Hosea chapter 3. And this, I think, is where it gets really interesting. Hosea prophesies that Israel will be deprived of many things, specifically without ephod. That's the priest's garment linked to the Urim and Thummim and Teraphim.
Both gone.
Both gone. It's like a total spiritual blackout. No guidance channel, legit or otherwise.
And if you connect that to the bigger scriptural picture, this isn't just punishment. It feels more like a reset, forced silence, a kind of purging, maybe, clearing the decks for something new, preparing Israel for a different kind of communication promised in the latter end of the days, right there in Hosea.
Right. Which brings us to this central idea, the authorized surrogate.
Yeah.
The thesis is that the word teraphim in that Hosea verse isn't just about the idols. It's acting like a prophetic type, a blueprint, suggesting that the new oracle, the one for the latter days, will do the Urim and Thummim's job, give true guidance, lights, and perfections. But maybe it operates differently, more personally, more tangibly, kind of echoing the form of those teraphim, but this time fully authorized by God.
Precisely. And that fits so well with the whole shift towards a new covenant way of relating to God. You see it elsewhere, right? God saying he desires knowledge of God more than ritual sacrifice, like in Hosea 6, or leadership based on character, not just your family line, like Paul writes to Timothy.
Yeah.
And people seeking God directly, maybe not always in the big formal temple setting.
Yeah.
It points towards a more personal, accessible connection.
Okay, so wrapping this up, and what does this all mean for us, for you listening? This deep dive seems to show a really profound theological shift. God orchestrating this loss of the old systems.
Clearing the way?
Yeah, clearing the way for something future, something more direct, more personal maybe. An authorized surrogate that takes the truth-telling function of the Urim and Thummim, but maybe has that tangible personal feel that the Teraphim, in their own illicit way, foreshadowed.
And that leaves us with a pretty important question for today, doesn't it? How do we, right now, in our own search for understanding or guidance, how do we tell the difference between seeking something genuinely, divinely sanctioned and just, relying on our own homemade interpreters, our own self-styled ways of trying to figure things out?
That's a heavy thought to end on, something definitely worth mulling over.